So again, more of a lighthearted topic, and what we're going to talk about today before we get into some reactions and reviews is your main project versus your side project. What do I mean by that? Well, I find it more and more common these days, especially in the underground scene. People want to make a bunch of like side personalities. They want to make a bunch of kind of like alternate egos or like kind of like side accounts, right? Like some people will have like a main account, and then they'll have like a secret account that they drop like different music on, or it's under like a different name but it's just like unreleased, or like some like b-side shit, right? So we're gonna break that down, and we're gonna talk a little bit about that, because I definitely think that's something that I'd like to get the community's opinion on, but also it's not something that's like super strict. I definitely think there's some positives and negatives with something like this, but yeah, let's talk about it. So when you have a main project, right? Say we have Johnny Backwood, just for kind of a random name to throw out there. And Johnny Backwood, right, is a vocalist. He's a rapper. He does whatever, but he also wants to make like super different rock punk music. But he doesn't want to do it under Johnny Backwood. He wants to do it under, you know, another name. So, there comes the dilemma of what do I do? You know what I mean? I find that people end up at that crossroad quite a lot, to be honest with you. Um, Mostly due to like how they want themselves to look like on the outside, and like their like perception of people, and like what people think of them. So, for instance, like early on in your career, and this is going to be some real fucking sauce. This is definitely something you definitely don't want to skip over. Especially if you're watching this on YouTube. So early on in your career, right? And let me preface this by saying that everybody's different, and everybody kind of has like a different journey when it comes to creativity. And everybody's kind of goals aren't the same either. Like not everybody wants to make a name for themselves. Some people just like making art and keeping it for themselves. That really isn't for those people. This is for the people that kind of want to build a name for themselves, want to start paying their bills for music, and want to actually develop a brand. Well, you know, you got to ask yourself a couple questions when you run into that dilemma, because you're so early on in your career, right? Especially like I hate to use like followers and listeners as like a metric, but that's really what they are. Like it's not really a self-worth thing. It's really just a metric to be able to tell you like where you're at in, a certain point in your career. So for instance, if you're under like 10K on Instagram and you're under 100K on Spotify, you shouldn't really be so hard on yourself in terms of sound. And what do I mean by that? I don't think that you need to like completely separate brands just because you drop like a different style of music. But when you kind of go ahead and drop so much music as one name, and then you switch over to another name and you drop a different style, and then you promote it like publicly, it's just like, oh, me and so dropped a song over here on this account. Like that, like a lot of those uh like cross pollination listeners don't really transfer over if you don't have that big of an audience yet. You know what I mean? Like you really want to have a decent audience to be able to even, drag some people over to your new project. And even then, I think that's still pretty risky, because you're taking away from your current journey as your main artist. So, how do you kind of get around that, right? Especially early on as an artist, cuz like you don't want to like send people 50 different directions to find certain, genres of music. You really don't. Like because you want to grow under one name, because it's easier to manage as you get more and more engagement, right? So like say your main project, starts getting a lot of traction, your side project is going to fall off either way. And it's never going to really like kind of like be where you wanted it to be. And you probably should have just dropped those fucking songs on your main account anyway. So, like, again, that raises the question, like, how do you get around something like that? Well, there's realistically two answers. There's realistically two fucking answers. And the first one is pretty simple. It's just don't fucking do that. You know what I mean? Like, keep all of your main shit, like, on your main account. Like, you don't necessarily need to, like, be afraid that people are gonna, like, not like one style and then enjoy another style. Like, a lot of the artists that I manage, like, dive into other styles or have done other styles in the past for so many other reasons, to push their ceiling, to push their skill set, versatility, etc., etc. Sometimes they're in, different stages of their life. Doesn't necessarily mean you need to come up with a whole new aesthetic and brand because, you make a slightly different style or a slightly different style of any kind of music, realistically. So for one, it's simple, don't do it. You know what I mean? Because you don't want to, like, separate your listeners like that so early on. You don't want to make people have to dive in. You know what I mean? You don't want to have to make people fucking, like, search so far for a certain song or this, that, and a third, especially so early on. Like, that's why you see bigger names, become looser and looser with how they promote, is because they know that their supporters are going to eat it up, right? But early on, you care about that. You need to be in people's faces. You know what I mean? You're not, fucking this person, that person who can go pack out a venue and go sell, a decent amount on a new project. You're just not. But you want to get there. So it's like, don't separate your listeners and your supporters like that. Don't make people chase you for music. And I think that's what a lot of people kind of do in good faith. Because I think the idea is great. You know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong. It's not a wrong thing to do. I just think people don't consider the fact that, like, if you have 10 listeners and then maybe 5 drop off to this other project, you're kind of spreading people out. Don't make people go left and right. Make people go one fucking place. You know what I mean? One place and that's it. Just so you're guaranteed to have, like, a good, strong hold on your engagement and you can trust, like, how things are supposed to go for you. And I just think early on it's very important to kind of stick to, like, one platform unless it's, like, something completely different. You know what I mean? Like, starting a band and then being a rapper is a case for that. I think, like, a lot of rappers can get away with, like, going, doing some band shit because that's far enough apart as to where you're going to be getting two different audiences anyway. But if you're, like, an alt pop artist or a rapper and then you go and do, like, maybe some, like, heavier shit and you make, like, a side account for it, I don't think that's necessarily beneficial so early on. You have to, like, launch that at a certain time for it to actually work. But that leads me to my second point as to where there's been, like, really good cases of, like, that being successful in the aspect of people not promoting it. So, for instance, I know a couple people that are still not connected to their, like, side accounts or alter egos. You know what I mean? I think that's really important. And I think where people go wrong is, say, like, Johnny Backwood comes back and says, yo, I'm promoting, my other page for, some more hardcore, like, scream horror rap shit instead of, like, my trap rap shit. I think that's a bad idea because, like, you're gonna get the same listeners anyway. You know what I mean? Like, that's essentially, again, splitting the audience in half, and that's what you don't want to do. But if you just put that music out, right, and you just kind of, like, not promote it, and you just silent drop, and, like, say you make all new socials you don't, like, associate with your main account, I think that's how you could really, like, stir the pot and really, like, get yourself, like, another experiment or another project going, right? Like, that's really how you could get involved with, like, a side and a main project, but you just can't tell anybody about it. And I think most people are just so excited to, like, promote music that they just can't keep their mouth shut anyways. So, I mean, that's fair. You know what I mean? Like, everybody's excited to put out music and promote it, and, they're on their main account and they're like, yo, go check out my side project. And it's just spreading people away from what you're already doing, and you could have realistically put it under your name and it probably would have done just as well, if not better. So yeah, there's pretty much two answers to that. You know what I mean? That I've seen personally. Like what I just spoke on are only things that I've seen work or fail. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm never gonna speak on shit as to where it's like definite. This is like fucking. Uh, this is law. You can't do that. Like nah. Like most of this shit in music and creativity, there are no rules. There's just ways to help you achieve what you're trying to achieve. You see what I'm saying? So again, no rules, but if you're like, I want to do X, Y, or Z, there's plenty of ways to help you do X, Y, or Z. But it doesn't mean that like if you go against the grain a little bit, that it's gonna be wrong. Because a lot of people will fucking lead you to believe that shit, or you know, this is how I did it, and it's gonna work, and nah, bro, nah, it's not fucking like that. So again, that's why I preface that by saying everybody's different. So like you don't necessarily need to like um take that advice with like every word strictly, but again, just consider that when, you know, you're at a crossroad one day, or somebody comes across this upload or this video and they're like, "Yo, uh maybe I should just drop this under my main account rather than, you know, try to make like a whole other side project and overwhelm myself and let the account die." And then like cuz like usually you'll just see people end up with some like half-ass promotion in a dead account. Whereas, like, if you just treated it like an archive or like a secret account and nobody knew about it, and it just like gathered like organic listeners and supporters like naturally, I think that's way more beneficial for you. And there's like less pressure. You know what I mean? There's a lot less pressure. So again, two angles to consider there, but I don't think one or the other is completely wrong. I just think people fail to consider them at all, which I don't think is a bad thing either. You know what I mean? And again, like I said from the start, if music or creativity is like just your hobby, then that's not like for you. You know what I mean? Those are some tips for the people that actually like are trying to push for something greater. You know what I mean? Like for sure. I love when people change it up and watch something. Yeah, exactly, exactly. If people want to listen to a specific type of music from you, they'll listen to it. If they don't like the other shit, they just won't listen. Exactly, exactly. Spitting facts. Yep. The uniqueness and everyone's come. Yeah, exactly. And like, if you're trying to follow like a blueprint, like you're getting no like passion out of that. There's no dopamine. Like none of it. Like it takes like the greatness out of it. Because people ask me all the time, Zom, how the fuck you been doing this for so long? How do you fucking run social media the way you do and drop music and write articles and, you know, do podcasts and this and this? And it's just like, the answer is very simple. It's my passion. You know what I mean? Like I always think back to the very first time I created a beat and picked a cover and posted it online to like 500 people. You know what I mean? Like it was a long journey to get to where I'm at now. So it's like, you know, you have to stick with that passion, and the main way to do that is to like follow your heart. And it's not the like cliche follow your heart. It's just do what's right, but also do your research and like think about it for a little bit, you know what I mean? And then of course like ask your peers, you know what I mean? Ask people like the Music Monday staff, ask me, ask fucking, you know, your artist friend who has a big audience. You know what I mean? There's plenty of resources around and plenty of people that will help you. As like intimidating as this space kind of seems, and like as like gatekeepy as a lot of people may seem, a lot of people are very willing to help you. Very willing to help you for sure. So very important, man. Very, very important to just kind of consider shit like that. But again, that's a very like fun topic that I wanted to really go over with you guys. So yeah, that'll definitely be on the Music Mondays YouTube channel. Definitely drop a like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments what you think about side projects and main projects. Do you think they're a good idea? Do you have one? Do you not give a fuck? You know what I mean? Do you hate this video? Let us know in the fucking comments, man. And yeah, that's that on that.